You go public and 30 million people hear what you gotta say. Nothing, I mean nothing, will ever be the same again.
Now, the work we did here is confidential, not for public scrutiny, any more than our one's family matters. We're very serious about protecting our interests.
He's got something to say. He wants to say it. I want to.
The soul of Detroit.
You asked interrogative questions around my face. It's gone.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now?
Hey kids, it's your old pal ML Elric back with another episode of The Soul of Detroit, and we're going to interrupt the show intermittently to give you updates on the score of the big game World Cup match between Iran and the U.S. It's 0-0, and I suspect throughout the show it will be 0-0.
I think it's Iran.
What's that?
I think it's Iran, as was established in the news conference the other day.
Did I say Iran?
Yeah, that's okay for me.
Well, when women can do what they want over there, I'll pronounce their name the way they want it. So that's a deal I made with the Ayatollah. Is that what they call him now? Or is it the Ayatollah? Because I remember there's a hola that fits in there somewhere, but I don't want to start an international incident. We got enough trouble on our hands. And we have a special show today that's brought to you by Luke Nowacki and Pinnacle Wealth Strategies and David Hall at Hall Financial. We'll be talking a little bit more about how they can not only save you money, but can help set you up for a very comfortable retirement and a future that you'll find to be most efficacious. Right, Shawn?
Oh, good word.
So, yeah, it's the only F word that I use on this show, but Shawn's been known to sprinkle in some salty language now.
No, it's always about me. By the way, on the drive over here today, may I just say this? There was a road sign that said, if you feel differently, you'll drive differently. And I just thought, okay, there's some profound, there you go, Mark.
And if you feel yourself, you'll drive into a tree, so be careful.
Kind of like ball don't lie, right?
Sure.
Yeah, there you go.
Sure. Okay. Well, we got a lot to talk about today. We have some special guests here. We're joined by Korey Bailey, the former treasurer of the Oxford Community School District, who's a whistleblower, talking about some things in the shooting that happened almost a year ago today that we were told that may not have been true. And we're going to talk to Korey about that. He's joined by his trusted counsel, Bill Seikaly, and we're pleased observing my former colleague and good friend Jim Kurtzner, the News King, is here to make sure that we don't get out of line, because Jim doesn't go for that, man. He keeps it on the straight and narrow, as he always has. If you watched him on Channel 7, on Channel 4, on his many stops during a illustrious career that ended recently with a retirement, but I think it's just kind of an interregnum because this guy can never stay away from where the action is. And after Korey and Bill and Jim have to go, we'll be joined by Matt Riley, who's talking about the Killer's Care Benefit, which will be this Thursday, December 1st, at the Lodge in Kego Harbor. Drew and Mike are titanium sponsors. We are, I think, Saran Wrap sponsors, which means we're donating our time, but it's still a big donation, and I will be behind the bar, as will Mark, throughout the evening, and a lot of other local media, athletes, and what pass for celebrities in this burg, serving drinks to people who are helping raise money for children's charities. So we're always grateful for what Matt is doing, and he will be here to talk about that very soon. But this is a pretty serious topic. I think we've all been I'm going to say shaken by the shootings that happen around the country, and I think a lot of us took comfort in that they hadn't happened here in Michigan yet. Well, a year ago they did happen in Oxford, Michigan. 4 kids were killed. Many others were injured, and we probably don't talk enough about how much their lives were changed by this. There's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of people still trying to heal. The Free Press and the news and local outlets have been reporting on this. The Free Press just had a great series of stories about some kids from Oxford who went down to Uvalde, Texas, to convene with and to share their lives and some hope with kids down there. But we just had a development that broke yesterday, where former members of the school board came forward, took a very bold step, and said, "You're not getting the truth about what happened in the days leading up to the shooting." And so before I keep talking more about this, we should hear from Korey Bailey, who's the man who was at the press conference and who told people what he feels they needed to know. Korey, can you tell us a little bit more about that? And thanks very much for taking the time to come in here.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I was the treasurer for the school board. I started in 2017, and obviously the shooting happened. I had been a part of the policy committee, which reviewed and updated various policies, and over time started digging into this policy because things just weren't adding up. That, we kept hearing, we have all the policies in place, we did everything right, everybody did their job, but a bad thing happened. And then we started getting some minor investigation that said the same thing. And, it goes back to my fire days of, if policies are followed and training is followed, how does this happen? And started digging into policy 8400 and, more importantly, the operational manual from the Secret Service. And just stuff wasn't adding up. And so I started bringing questions to the board president, brought it to all the other board members, and started digging into this, and just didn't like what we found.
So, Korey, let's give people a little bit of the backstory. Ethan Crumbley came to school about a year ago, had been displaying some troubling behavior, had written some things on some assignments, was found looking up bullets on his phone, was called into a counselor's office. His parents were called to school, and basically they were told, we have some concerns about your son. They said, we want to leave our kid in school. He was sent back to his classroom with his backpack. His backpack was neither confiscated nor inspected. And in that backpack, he had a gun that had been bought by him, by his parents, for him by his parents as an early Christmas present. So I'm going to put him on the naughty list right there. And he shot some of his classmates and staff members before he surrendered. What we were told, and Korey, correct me if I'm getting any of this wrong, what we were told is that this could not have been avoided, that the school followed all the procedures, all the training, and this was just one of those things where somebody was such a bad actor that there's nothing that could have been done differently to protect these kids or to prevent this tragedy. Is that it in a nutshell?
That's what we had been told all along, was that, again, we had all the policies in place, our team did everything right, and it still happened. So, we believe that. We were listening to experts that I thought knew more than we did, and we believed it. And it wasn't until started digging into it that things just didn't add up.
Now, you wanted to hire an outside investigative firm. And by the way, I need to tell you something about school boards. If you have never followed politics, the people who run for these are crazy because, first of all, they don't pay. You may get a stipend, but I think most of them don't pay. You spend money to get elected. And then once you get elected, all you care about are the kids and what's going on in the schools, and everybody hates you. No matter what happens when you get on the school board, everybody's got a beef about you. The kids are mad at you, the administrators are mad at you, the teachers are mad at you, the parents are mad at you. You got these books in the classroom, the lunches aren't there's not enough pizza days. Whatever you do, everybody's mad at you. So thank you for being crazy enough to serve on one of these boards.
Why did you? Do you have kids in the district? Were they in the high school?
I had a daughter that was in the high school. She graduated in 2020, and to be honest, I got in there to be involved. I love to serve the community. I'm on other boards in the township, and it's just, my dad and my grandfather were servant leaders, and it just inspired with me that, I've been blessed in life. Bless somebody else. Give back.
So you do this selfless thing, which I always tell people who want to get into politics, whatever you do, don't run for a school board because that's you're going to regret it. You get on the board. You're not just a rubber stamp. You guys start saying, well, we want to hire somebody to investigate, and your investigators all of a sudden start having problems. Is that's what we heard yesterday at the press conference?
They started running into some roadblocks where they had to FOIA every bit of information and everything they were looking for. And then in July, we learned that when the board president was on vacation, that a meeting took place with the insurance company's attorneys and our union presidents, and the decision was made. We're not going to cooperate. We're stepping away. So all of the appointments and people we needed to talk to kind of dried up.
So you're the policymakers for the Oxford Community School District. You're the elected leaders, and you're being told by the professional staff, we're not going to help.
I'm going to step in on this one.
Here's the counselor.
Yeah, that's going to come out during depositions and what the legal responsibilities and duties, and because it was discussions with lawyers, there's an issue, potential issue, that it could be a privileged conversation. There's a great legal issue that Judge Chabot will probably decide up in Oakland County about who has the right to waive that privilege. So Korey won't be answering those questions.
But it's fair to say that he was not satisfied with the level of cooperation that this investigative entity that the board itself wanted to bring into this to get some more sunlight. They were frustrated.
I was disappointed.
And were you surprised when you're like, hey, we're just trying to get to the truth here too? Why are you not? I mean, why would you have to FOIA stuff? I mean, I know why they make me FOIA stuff, which they really shouldn't. They should just give us public records, but fair enough. But this is your team Oxford, right? I mean, they're the administration, you're the board.
And again, we thought we were all on the same team with the same goal. Our goal was obviously honesty and transparency and getting to the bottom of it. Their intention was more school preservation and
Money.
Well, and is there a liability issue here too? Because I know there's a lot of lawyers moving around. Not all of them as good looking or as erudite as Bill Seikaly, but I mean,
these glasses more than I do.
Yeah, no, it's it's the radio, so we can say whatever we want. Theater of the mind. Although if you're watching us on Facebook, we really do appreciate it. I mean, is there some of this that the district's kind of protect its purse on this too? That if you say the wrong thing, that somebody's going to get a big payout? I mean, I understand that. That would be prudent, but there's prudence and then there's obstructionism.
Again, let me step in and say what Korey probably couldn't say. The board made a commitment to transparency. So transparency could mean one of two things in this situation. Either we're going to tell you what we find out when we look at what happened here, or we're going to tell you we can't tell you the truth because of the litigation. What happened here was that they were putting out stories that they were told were true, when in fact they weren't. Why couldn't a third-party investigator come in? Why couldn't Dana Nessel, the
Michigan Attorney General,
come in and do an investigation?
And she had offered on many occasions, and yesterday I think once again reiterated, hey, all I want to do is come in and take a look.
Yeah. Let me make 2 points on that. One is she did make the offer. They were told, and this is very public now, that they couldn't take her up on that offer because the Oakland County prosecutor, Karen McDonald, didn't want them to. What they found out 4 months later was that Prosecutor McDonald's office had made clear that that was not their position.
Oh.
And that was never communicated to the board president as it should have been. That's one issue. But the second issue, which I think is kind of obvious and important to the community, why are we having lawyers and insurance companies come in to investigate this right at the beginning?
That's what I wanted to ask you, because you say they, it's clearly the board, but does it seem or feel that they're being just directed by the insurance company?
I think that's an incredibly adroit conclusion.
So they're in charge because it's all about money. And in the end, I mean, just sitting on the sideline, to me, it feels like there's going to be settlements, and in the end, nothing's going to change to prevent another one of these, which I assume, Korey, is one of the reasons, like, hey, we have this policy, follow the policy.
That's the whole reason that Tom and I wanted to come forward with this is, I mean, it happened here. It happened. How do we stop this? How do we not allow this again? And then going back to the Dana Nessel thing, why is her offer just that, an offer? It should be mandatory. Yeah. It shouldn't have even been an option. Like Tom pointed out yesterday in the press conference, If a plane fell down in a field right now, Boeing wouldn't come in and say, hey, we're going to take care of this. We're going to do all that. No, the FAA comes in and says, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we expect. Here's where you failed.
So the biggest failure with the policy, what is it in your mind? Like, what specifically in the policy was not followed that you felt would have stopped what Ethan Crumbley did a year ago?
The policy as a whole. Like I said yesterday, we have all kinds of mandates, requirements, expectations for fire drills. This is somewhat optional. It's expected that, because we have a policy, we expect the deputy superintendent and the others to enact this policy, but until it's broken, we don't know it's broken. Unlike a fire drill, we have to look at reports every year that say, we did the 5 fire drills expected, we did one at lunchtime, we did this, we checked off all the boxes, we did what was expected.
And that doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist with
There's
this.
a difference between having a policy and having a procedure and implementing it. Because if you don't train your staff, if you don't tell every counselor, if you don't tell every principal, you need to have this written out. You need, anytime there's a potential threat, to call this team in. What good is the policy? That's what the policy requires. And I think that when people look at it, they'll say it was never implemented.
Because Ethan Crumbley should have been removed from school. I mean, there were 2 major incidents. He wasn't. And I've heard people say, well, what do you do when the parents come in and you say, take them home, and they're just like, no. I mean, what should they have done when the parents refused to take Ethan home?
Yeah, he's not qualified to answer that question.
What does the policy say? Is that in the policy?
Yeah, well, what the policy says is you don't let him back in the classroom.
So
Look,
he sits in an office?
You may have to call social services. I don't, there's some questions about that. But what you do is the policy requires that you do a threat assessment. That threat assessment leads you down some roads. One of the things that I think that would be obvious in the threat assessment is you find out find out where his gun is.
Yeah.
Because he admitted to having the gun.
And
so you find out where it is. And if he says it's at home, you have somebody go find it.
But then we're asking schools to be detectives, and these policies, is it even fair? I mean, this is a broader question, but is it even fair that schools have to do this? You mentioned the FAA. That's a federal, right? I mean, and the FAA has the power. By the way,
but you shouldn't have the school doing the investigation. The Attorney General, I think the Attorney General, somebody
right, but I'm talking about setting the policy. I mean, the FAA comes in, the 737 goes down, and the FAA grounds it, right? They ground it in the United States. There's no body that has that kind of control over our public education system.
Well,
and we're asking them to take care of a larger societal problem. I'm just curious how fair that is.
Well, and part of this manual is when it talks about the team, a key member in that team is, like, we have an SRO, the police officer that's actually in the building, each of our buildings. It talks about bringing them in at certain stages. And if you're in a community that doesn't have an SRO, you have a liaison that would bring law enforcement in to ask those questions, so you have a detective asking those questions.
So, Korey, you mentioned Tom a couple of times. You're not the only person speaking out who has resigned from the board. Tell us briefly who Tom is and where the policy wasn't followed.
Tom Donnelly was the board president. I believe he was elected in 2016. Without really investigating into it a great deal, it's the team. The team was never established. If you read through the manual here, it calls out certain people. It calls out the roles they play. One member is to interrogate the student. One member is to sit back, like right now, and watch body language and dictate everything. Another one is to discuss with the other teacher. I mean, it spells out every team member's role. And if you look at November 29th and 30th, you had a bunch of single moving pieces.
So is the concern here that the community was told, we did this by the book? And what you're finding out is, I'm looking at the book and I'm hearing what you're telling me we did, and we did not do it by the book. Is that what the community's been misled, in your opinion?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And why? I mean, so it seems obvious to me that when public officials tell us something and the truth is is just the opposite. I mean, I made a career out of doing stories like that. But why do you think it's so important to talk about that now?
Because you're never going to fix a system if you keep putting your head in the sand. You know, I've talked to board members at neighboring districts, and they're in the same boat. They have the policy. Well, tell me who your team is. We don't have that. So it's, you know, if you know, a shooter walked into their building and they're not taking this any more serious than Oxford was, they don't have a team set up, same thing's going to happen. That's how we got to fix this.
So your concern is, and don't let me put words in your mouth, but it sounds like your concern is if we wait for these investigations to run their full course, that's time lost when we could start to implement these policies to prevent this from happening again.
I think this needs to be even bigger than just here in Oxford. This needs to be Lansing saying you have to do X number of fire drills, you have to show your records for training, you have to be accredited, which means you have to show what training, what scenarios you worked out. When I was on the fire department, we had to do training drills. We had to talk about CPR so many times. We had to do flashbacks so many times. We had key training we had to do on a quarterly, yearly basis.
I got to say, I would think most people feel that school districts have to do that already. But you're saying regarding shooting drills, there's no oversight?
We're talking about a different policy.
Okay.
You're talking about Alice drills.
Okay.
And there's some dispute about how effective or helpful those really are. But what we're talking about is how a professional in the school district assesses a risk.
Gotcha.
Okay? That's really what they're talking about here.
Okay.
And you know, I thought you asked a great question earlier about what are we asking our schools to do. I took offense about anybody who runs for school board is crazy. I spent 14 years on school board.
Oh, I take offense in here all the time, so don't worry.
Give it to him,
I
Bill.
guess that's,
You just made my case, Bill.
I guess that's the
I
point.
resemble that remark. So.
Yeah, it's Exhibit A right there, Bill
resemble
Seikaly.
Okay. But I was shocked to learn recently that the largest cause of death for 1-year-olds to 19-year-olds, gun violence.
Exactly, and that's my point.
If that's what's going on, then we have to react to the reality of what's going on. Now, look, I'll spend all day talking to you about how we don't adequately fund our schools, and that's not appropriate and that's not right. But if we know our kids are dying in our schools, and we do, and we know these shootings are going on, we know they're getting more frequent, how many hopes and prayers do you want to send? How about if, since Columbine, this is probably, I think it's important that people know this comes from the Secret Service, and it's called Enhancing School Safety Using Threat Assessment Model, an operational guide for preventing targeted school violence.
So if you're...
They know they've done great work here. We need to implement it. We need to get rid of, in my opinion,
guide is the
weapons.
problem, right? It should be rules, and it needs to be, whether to your point,
except here,
Korey,
it was
with
a
Lansing
rule.
or either the state or the federal, somebody's got to step in, because I don't think it's fair to let all these school districts have to deal and try to cope with something they're not equipped to deal and cope with.
Well, I don't disagree with you. However, this is a guide, but the Oxford schools passed a policy implementing it. So for Oxford, it should have been a rule.
So if you're not watching us on Facebook or on YouTube, Bill held up a binder that has this policy. Korey brought this with him. Is this what was given? Is this the Oxford policy, or is this a policy that Oxford adopted? This binder, where does this binder come from?
This binder I put together. It's it's a printout of Policy 8400. It's also a complete detail of the Secret Service model.
Okay.
And it says clearly in our policy 8400, that it is to be consistent and modeled after this model from the Secret Service.
Okay. So we're not going to solve the problems of gun control anytime soon, but it does sound like in the meantime, whether or not you are hardcore Second Amendment, keep your hands off my damn guns, or you want every gun taken away, regardless of where you land on that debate, there was a policy in Oxford that said when someone exhibits threatening behavior, they are to be treated in a certain manner. And the community has been told that in this case, somebody did exhibit this behavior. I don't think there's any debate there. And they were handled in a manner that's consistent with our policy. And what you and Tom are saying is, no, that's not true. You've been told something by the school district that is not true, and we cannot stand by any longer and allow the community to be told something that we believe to be inaccurate, fallacious, you name it.
Correct.
That's it. Well, let me tell you what the school district says about this. Excuse me. We have some statements that were released yesterday in response to the press conference that Korey and Tom had, where the law firm representing the district says, Mr. Donnelly, that would be Tom Donnelly, is correct in acknowledging that the district had appropriate safety policies in place since 2004. He also confirmed that multiple staff members received threat assessment training before the November 30th tragedy. Many of the former board members, referring to Tom and Korey, their allegations show a misunderstanding of the facts. Now, they don't say what that misunderstanding is, but they basically say, we'll tell you where this all comes up in the end. They end their statement with, the district will fully disclose all relevant facts and procedures in the forthcoming legal proceedings. Tom and Korey aren't willing to wait for those proceedings to be concluded. Dan Alessandro, the president of the Oxford Community School District Board of Education, also issued a statement that said, in part, the third-party review of the events leading up to, during, and following November 30th, 2021, as reported at our last board meeting, has since seen increased participation by key stakeholders. Now, gentlemen, do you interpret that to mean that some of the roadblocks that were put in the way have now been taken away? Or what does that mean in your mind?
No, to be honest, they're going to be removed. They're going to start allowing people to participate after their depositions.
Okay, so
after they've lawyered up, and look, I'm a lawyer. I prepare people for their deposition. I'm going to
tell by the finely
Tom,
tailored suit.
I'm going to prepare.
It's not really a suit, but his powers of observation are,
Tom and Korey for their depositions. But going back to who ought to be doing the investigations and when, if a government agency comes in, when the FAA comes in, you don't get to go prepare with your lawyer before you get interviewed by the FAA. That's the point here. If you want to know the truth, you go in, get boots on the ground by an objective third party, doesn't have a financial investment, and you get people to talk.
That's the frustrating thing, is that there's everybody, you kind of know what everybody's interest is here, and there's no a body overseeing it that doesn't have a financial interest or saving their own ass. Korey,
so Mark, before you let me finish what the chairman of the board, the president of the board said. Excuse me. He said the review will help us all understand the facts and have the transparency and accountability we all deserve. We ask the public to allow this important review process to take place so the facts can be brought to light in a clear, accurate, and impartial manner. That's a partial statement from him, but basically it sounds like the same thing the law firm is saying, which is sit tight and we'll let you know what we find when we're done doing our investigation.
Anybody want to guess who wrote those?
A lawyer?
Wasn't the lawyers?
Oh, the insurance company. Sure.
Well, it was probably a PR firm.
Yeah, of course. Financial interest. Korey, what else do you feel they're maybe not necessarily hiding, but not being very forthcoming with, information that they have that you guys wanted to see or feel? Is this a Bill answer?
Yeah.
Because isn't there a survey that like a behavioral survey that there's no results from regarding Ethan Crumbley?
That'll come out in the deposition. You can call Mr. Bailey back.
Can you make comment? Is there a security guard? Because I've heard that there was, and then I've heard that there wasn't. Do you know if there was one on site? And because what I heard was this was in one of the lawsuits that a female security guard saw it and thought it was a drill. Can you speak to that?
I don't.
It came out in closed session.
What's that?
So no, you can't speak to it.
Let me answer that. There are plenty of security guards and plenty of these shootings and plenty of schools, and they don't make a hill of beans difference.
Well, they certainly didn't in Uvalde, right?
No, exactly.
Well,
I mean,
Stood around and waited for the guy to run out of ammo.
that's the problem. We're going to. I'm sorry, Mark. One second, please. We're going to give people who are in pain a place to point a finger at when the issue is a much larger societal issue, and that's my problem with all this.
I agree.
We want to point the fingers.
A cynic could also say you could
on
have
a
all the
granular
policies
level when that's not fair. It's not.
Well, but there's also,
get hired to do a job, you should
evolution
do it.
takes
Well, I understand that, but
we
no,
need some
you're right.
solutions in the meantime.
No, I understand.
And
but
I think where Korey and Tom are coming from, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, is in the meantime we got a policy. We need to follow the policy, and if we didn't follow the policy, don't tell people we followed the
No, I
policy.
completely agree
and if
with
you're in
that.
another district, you need to know that people may be telling you they followed the policy. Go back and ask them if they
I
really
completely
did.
agree with all that. But the idea that a security guard or even a police person is going to be able to stop somebody, a sociopath, a kid who's
Well, I mean, you could
bent
say
on that.
You could
right?
say that. Then what does the policy matter if he's just going to be bent on doing something and removing him? I mean,
I don't
yeah,
know
there's-
that it does.
there's
It's
a lot
not
of
stopping it,
redundancies.
is it? I mean, I'm sorry to
No,
take
I
this
think-
conversation
no,
in this
that's
place,
fair.
but
The frustrating
but-
thing is that it doesn't feel like it's about we're getting to a solution or fixing anything. It's about how much money is somebody going to
Band-Aid.
get and who's paying it, and in the end, that'll all be settled. And next thing you know, nothing will change, and that's the fear. And I'm
That's
not,
absolutely right.
yeah, and
That's
I don't
absolutely
want to put words in your mouth, but you're kind of saying we need to change. These are simple things to implement, and being forthcoming and honest is step number one. And I don't know why that's so fucking hard.
Yeah, and to be honest,
Oh.
to get into the whole gun debate is going to slow this down.
Exactly.
Because you know what? I'll be honest. Take every bit of gun away, every gun. This is still needed because the kid can walk in with a knife. He can walk in with an explosive.
Yeah,
that's
This
true.
Needs to prevent every threat, not just a gun threat.
but it's about money.
It's
That's
everything.
what sucks.
So, Korey, you and Tom.
It's not about money to everyone, which is why
Fair enough.
Which is why I'm so proud to represent Korey and Tom. And you can imagine how much I'm getting for this.
It is a nice suit, whatever Shawn says. I don't know why he says you look like a bum.
But here's a guy that's
say
trying
that.
to
It's
do
a nice
In
blazer.
all
Wearing a
seriousness-
hoodie.
in
It's a
all
nice
seriousness,
blazer.
They're doing the
right
right thing.
Yeah.
And the hopes and prayers, they only go so far. If people don't
pretty
come
much.
forward and say, if we don't do something differently, we should expect the same thing to happen.
So let's stay on that point for just a second, Bill, because when you guys announced that you're going to speak out about this, you've characterized your clients as whistleblowers. I don't know if that was your term or
Whistleblower is a term of art that probably doesn't apply here because it applies in Michigan to people who are employed. These guys were elected. In the generic term, they are certainly whistleblowers. They're not in the legal sense.
But what I'm getting to, and not to get to the finer point of whether they classify under the law, but are they concerned, and maybe you can speak to this, Korey, are you concerned about retaliation? Because whistleblowers often are retaliated against. I mean, I'm sure you're going to hear from people who are angry. You served on a school board, so you're used to that. But by coming forward, do you have concerns?
Yeah, I mean, and to your point, yes, we went through that the whole COVID. We had people for
geez.
masks, people against masks, and they all hated us because we wouldn't.
Yeah, Seikaly had the easy time on the school board. That was pre-COVID. You guys are just handing out participation awards.
I got rid of a nursery school program. Do you know what they did to me?
They sent a bunch of dirty diapers to your house. but-
Actually, they came in with their kids in strollers and balloons and banners and my name with not such nice things about it.
But there's a lot of people that have taken to social media, and people are very powerful behind the keyboard. But I think we're doing the right thing, and yeah, there might be a price to that.
Keyboard warriors.
Well,
I think
yeah.
is what Mike calls them.
Yeah, what I call them, you can't say on this show, even though there's no FCC. But
Mark just dropped a big one.
they call that the Shawn.
Why are you throwing me under the
Shawn
bus?
word. But Bill, is there
I'm in
is
trouble
there
too?
is there a danger that these gentlemen could face criminal, civil penalties, liabilities, exposure?
I'm certainly not worried about the criminal risk, but
Okay.
part of the problem in the civil realm is that when you're sued, you have to defend yourself, and it's expensive. And I'm here in large part to make sure they don't end up in those things, so that they don't waive privileges until a judge rules that some of the things they're going to say, they're only going to say in deposition, where you have different kinds of immunity. That's why I'm here. When they hired, they didn't. When they got me, they had already made the decision. 1, we're going to go public. 2, we're going to let the families and the victims know first. 3, then we tell the Oxford community. I mean, they only used the media to get the word out to the Oxford community.
We're a bullhorn. Wow. We're an amplifier.
But they had already made those decisions. I told them what I thought the guardrails were to make sure that they didn't end up getting into some civil conflict that would be an expensive proposition to defend.
Okay. And what was that meeting with the families like, Korey?
It was tough. I didn't eat all day, and from the minute the first parent walked in, I kept walking back towards the bathroom because I thought I was going to lose it. It was tough. I had to read my speech because every time I looked up, I about lost it.
And had they been mad at you guys before? I mean, was there a lot of ire directed at the board from survivors' families?
And rightfully so.
Okay. So is it fair to say you walked into a room that was at least a little hostile? Or mostly hostile? Okay.
Yeah, believe it or not, they were quiet. They listened. Very, very respectful. I had a couple parents that, thank you as they walked out. But yeah, I mean, they rightfully hated us.
Well, tell us about that response. I mean, it sounds. I mean, did you see people saying, "Oh, I hadn't thought about that before"? Were they shaking their head just like, "Oh no, I don't need any more"? So these guys who are part of the liars are now telling me they were liars. They're liars too. The hell with them. I'm getting out of here. I mean, was there? I mean, what did you see when you did look up?
I think they actually suspected, or I know they suspected what we were going to tell them. We just verified it for them.
So do they now see you as allies, or are they now like, okay, so there's the board, there's the former board members, and there's us, and that's the deal?
I from watching some of their conferences, I get the impression that they think we knew this January, February of last year, and we're just now coming clean. This is something that Tom and I learned in August, verified in September, and said, that's it, I'm done.
And you learned this through your own enterprise, your own investigations.
We had a couple of community members that were prompting some questions, which made me dig into it deeper. But
okay,
yeah, it's
okay. Well, you guys have been very generous with your time, and obviously, we're in the middle of an adversarial situation. I suspect that your former board members don't agree with the position you've taken. We've shared some of what they've had to say about this. We're certainly open to have anybody else who has a position on this come forward and appear on this show in the future. But thanks for making the time. Thanks for, I mean, as someone who really has a lot of respect for both legal and conceptual whistleblowers, it's important that people who have information to access to information that the people deserve to know, that they speak out. So I certainly appreciate that. Guys, I don't know if you have any other questions or if there's anything you guys would like to say, but if not, we look forward to seeing what comes next out of this, and hoping that these policies, if you're in another district and you've been telling people you're following the policies, may I just suggest that you actually not say shit that isn't true.
I was just going to say, I appreciate the courage, because it's not easy.
Thank you.
Yeah. Gents, last word, anything to add?
Thank you for having us on and giving us the opportunity to appeal to the higher powers to make this a bigger deal.
Thanks for pursuing the conversation, because this is important. Otherwise, we're never going to get any change.
We appreciate this audience's interest in major stories like this, and hoping that they can hear from people. If you have any questions that you want to send us, you know how to reach us, soulofdetroit@gmail.com. We will try and follow up with these guys if there's some material we didn't cover. But thanks, gents, and good luck. We hope that whoever's right or whoever's wrong, that the truth comes out, and sooner rather than later, folks, because as we've seen in the state of Virginia alone, these shootings are not about to stop anytime soon. So, I believe we can pray for our children, but I hope we got a little bit more going for them than that.
Me too.
So.
Virginia's a commonwealth, by the way. I just want to say that.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well, it's so is Pennsylvania.
The United States is a republic.
I had to
right?
break it up with a joke.
You're gonna.
They're very strong on being called a commonwealth and not a state. That's all I can say. I'll break it up now with commerce. I'll tell you about, let's see, Hall Financial. We need to know about Hall Financial. Over 40% of Americans don't have $500 in their emergency fund. A lot of people don't even realize that they can use equity that is in their home to put themselves in a better financial situation. So why not try a cash out refinance from Hall Financial? It can help you release financial stress and keep you and your family prepared for the future. So if you're, maybe even looking to buy a new home or refinance your current home, call Hall Financial first at 866-CALL-HALL, or get started by going to the website where you can click on the Hall Financial banner to learn more information. And if you do have a big financial decision coming up, maybe like purchasing that new home or a car or something just fun that you want to do, you got to know how this decision is going to affect your current and future financial goals. And the guy to do that is Luke Nowacki and his team at Pinnacle Wealth Strategies. They can help you plan for all your financial goals, both today and well into the future. Call Luke today at 248-663-4748. He's going to give you a complimentary consultation to see if your plans align with your goals.
And when you call Luke, he'll make it all about you, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Royal Alliance Associates Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Royal Alliance Associates Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Royal Alliance Associates Inc.
Live World Cup update that I think will stand the test of time throughout the week. USA 0.
Hilarious.
Iran.
Did we just lose? Who was the third person in here?
Jim Kurtzner. Do you know Jim? The
I thought you, Sean. You're the third person.
I thought you said Bill, so I was thinking, the steel guitarist from Commander Cody.
No one thought that.
Yeah.
From Commander Cody? That's really what you thought?
Wow, I don't feel so bad that you hate Room 7609 now. What's
Hot
next?
Rod Lincoln? Is that Commander Cody?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, we are joined, and I'm sorry, folks, if the first part of the show seemed a little heavy, but this is some pretty
interesting.
Oh, you're heavy though. You're a heavy
stuff.
guy.
And these guys, I'm 203. I think.
No, I don't mean weight. I mean just your spirit, your soul. Substantial. How about that? Serious.
Wow, it's ponderous, man.
Smart.
Ponderous.
How about that?
We're going to change gears a little bit with Matt Riley here, who is one of the most generous men you'll ever meet. He is always doing something for somebody else, and we're pleased in a very small way to help get the word about Killers Cares, which is this Thursday, December 1st, at the Lodge in Kego Harbor. Matt, how many years have you been doing this?
This is our 12th year since the Killer started years before back at the brew house. Probably had it going for about 5 years, and then after his unfortunate passing, we took it over. We moved it to the Lodge because we needed a little bit of a bigger room, and we've had great success there.
Did you ever think about how blown away he would be if he saw?
What Killer would do is he would shake his head. He would call me an asshole after he told me after 5 beers in me that he can barely understand a word I'm saying. Tell me that the walk away that the grown-ups are talking, and then he would shed a tear, and I think he would be amazed.
You've done a phenomenal job.
And for folks who don't know Killer Kowalski, he was longtime Lions beat writer for the Oakland Press, often appeared on TV on Fox 2 as an analyst on the radio. Some of his back and forth with Pat Caputo were epic, man. I love seeing those guys go at it.
Yeah, hard to believe. Killer passed at 51. He had been covering the Lions for 30 years. And in fact, he is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he went in posthumously. And he's in the. I think every year they elect a writer. Huh. And I mean, he was on the Hall of Fame voting committee, and if you're familiar how they do that, they pick only one beat writer from each city.
Oh wow!
So yeah, there's only 32, and then there used to be 4 at-larges, and now they've increased it because the players were kind of complaining that you got a bunch of kind of like the baseball. Get off my lawn, guys.
How many years has it been? I'm trying to remember.
He passed away August of 2011.
Because I remember I was in Minneapolis covering the Tigers and the Twins, and I was at the airport, and I'd gotten on a plane and saw a couple other beat writers for the Tigers, and that's how I found out. They said, "Hey, did you hear?"
Yeah, it was.
I'll never forget. I'll never forget that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the press room at Ford Field is named in his honor.
The press room is named after him. There's a journalism scholarship given away by the Lions in his name.
In Allen Park, I think, right?
In Allen Park.
Yeah. Which
Okay.
is where he used to hold court. You'd walk in,
Right.
and he always wanted to talk politics, and
It's just the nicest guy.
He was a big guy and larger than life.
He was.
But I don't know the backstory of how he got involved in trying to help out kids.
So he lived.
He's a single guy, right? No
Correct.
children?
Correct. Actually, the way I met Killer was back when I was in my 20s. I worked at a company, and a couple guys I worked with shared a house with him. 4 guys lived in the house.
Oh, geez.
Oh yeah, and it was out on Sylvan Lake, and they would have some of the most epic parties. I mean, they introduced a lot of us to Jägermeister and different ways to do shots of it. But they had these amazing parties out there, and he really got ingrained in the culture out in Sylvan and Kego. He had a pontoon boat. He loved to hang out there. He lived at this little bar called the Brew House, if any of you know that. Yep. And he's always, huge man, bigger heart. I had a penchant for worrying about kids. Friends of mine who had kids, he was Uncle Killer. I mean, Sean Beligian will tell you about him leaving Christmas presents on their door, running away in the snow in his shorts with his white tennis shoes on.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. And said, "No, you weren't supposed to see me." Another friend of mine, Walt, who was instrumental in helping me with the events. His kids. We had some videos, and we show them at the event of Uncle Killer, on Christmas Day playing football in the snow with Walt's 2 little kids who are now grown and going to college.
Yeah, there's a great picture of that too on the website.
Is there?
killercares.org, where you can get all the information too on Killer's Christmas Thursday. No cover, free admission, free valet.
Yep.
Free valet.
Free valet provided by one of our sponsors. Am I allowed to say sponsors?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's Christina Gennari.
Only 'cause we like her.
They don't sponsor this show, but we still like them.
Those
sponsorship opportunities are available, by the way.
This show, right?
Luke does.
Moran?
Oh, yeah, Luke.
Yes.
Oh, Luke came
And
huge.
Luke sponsors Clark Park. I mean,
Yeah.
Luke, if you got a
You're talking about a
cause,
generous guy.
Luke is.
I'm a pauper compared to him when it comes to generosity. Trust me.
that I don't believe that for a minute. But you guys are both in the pantheon of generous cats.
Yeah, so we got lots of we have a gaggle of celebrity bartenders, including Mr. Elric here. We've got a lot of the Fox 2 people.
It gets better from there, folks. Let me just tell you that.
Amy Andrews is going to be there. Mojo, Dina Santafanti, Mickey Redmond, Ken Daniels, Larry Murphy, Trudy Daniels, Tom Mazaway, Tommy Hearn.
It gets a little worse when you get to Maz. But it gets better again.
Yeah. ML's not going to want to hear this one. Braylon Edwards. I tried to get Johnny Spirit, but his bike tire had a flat. Can't make it.
Yeah, no, you're looking for Johnny Spirits. I think he's a teetotaler. But actually, I met Braylon at this great Detroit Sports Media Association does a luncheon, a tailgate luncheon before the Michigan State game. And I met Braylon there, and I never liked the man until I met him.
He is.
And I liked him quite a bit after that.
I told this story.
And he seemed like he didn't give a shit about football. But he was like the most talented guy. And it was like, so I went out there and figured I'd play. I'm like, well, if you didn't care about football, could you take in like that 15 overtime game off?
Well, I'm going to give you.
Son of a bitch.
I'm going to give you a homework for Thursday night. Get into a conversation with them, something near and dear to you, and where you go as well as anyone I know.
I'll take him into tunnel.
Across the genres, yeah. And discuss music with Braylon. It'll blow your mind.
Yeah,
how eclectic he
he's
is.
got you mentioned the other day, a very eclectic playlist when he was DJing.
Yeah. Later at night when the cats come out, if you will. We kind of get into crowd thins out a little.
An ugly dance party.
It turns into an S show. It sure does.
It does.
And last year we had Braylon and Craig Monroe and Ryan Dempster was there from the Cubs, and they were going back and forth DJing. And Braylon, he opened up with Bon Jovi. Okay, he did. He hit something in the new wave era not quite.
The B-52s probably.
It was something. It was not as deep a cut as ML would like, but
The first cut's the deepest.
yeah.
Well, but that's in the tradition of Mojo. Not White Steakhouse Mojo, but the electrifying Mojo.
Electrifying Mojo.
Yeah,
Sure.
he would play. He would play. He'd play Steven Tyler, Aerosmith,
Yep.
and then he'd play Prince.
Yep.
Just say what?
Michigan Stadium needs to get Braylon out there to be the DJ.
I
They
used
have
to-
the new little DJ
Yeah,
booth
yeah,
at
yeah.
Michigan
I used
Stadium.
to. Speaking of electrifying Mojo, not to get off the subject, but I used to deliver pizzas in Ann Arbor after I graduated. That's so the old joke about how do you get someone off your porch? Well, I delivered the pizzas with my degree. Yeah. Okay. So F all those people who want to make those jokes about Sparty or Ohio State. So anyway, but I used to drive around and I had AM FM radio in my Chevy Monza where the door flew open every time I turned. And
Is
then
it orange or yellow?
no, it was. You know what the color was? Eggshell.
God, for a car.
Yeah, yeah. It was kind of like a very light yellow. I've never seen eggs that color in my life. But
Hides the rust.
Yeah, there was rust everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd listen to Mojo starting at like 11:30. Remember the beginning of the
Midnight
show?
Funk Association.
Oh my God, the
mothership's coming
if you're
in.
water, splash your lights.
Right. If you're on your back, dance on your back.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you're out, flash. So you probably got Lover's Lane because I think the mothership came in the afternoon, and you get to the Purple People, and then Lover's Lane, and
Yeah, or in the ship, I listened to Steve Courtney and sports rap and Beckman and all that.
yeah.
I was an AM guy.
Man, no, he was great. But so Braylon will be there, and
will
you
be
couldn't
there.
get Drew Stanton. You couldn't get it.
No,
I know
we
Charles
had-
Rogers isn't available.
We had Jim Miller one year.
Okay.
And I'm not sure what happened to him. But no, we got
checked his
up
urine.
our Sparty game because we love everybody. I mean, Wojo's going to be there. Earl Curitan, Will Birchfield. I'm just looking at this. Danny Rogers from the Lions. Erica Erickson, she's coming back. Trevor Thompson's going to be there. T.J. Lang.
Woody Woodruff always brings
Woody
down
Woodruff,
the house.
Stoney. White Boy Rick.
By the way, TJ
Brandon.
Lang is doing a phenomenal job as the sideline reporter for the Lions games on the radio. I finally got a chance to listen for a big segment during Thanksgiving. I'm like, who's this doing the sideline? Because he's really, really good.
He's also good.
And then I saw his tweet about soccer, and I got mad.
Yeah, he's also pretty
Still,
good on
still
on
0-0, folks.
on the morning show.
He what?
Not the morning show. I'm sorry.
Oh,
the
he
pregame
does.
show.
He does, yeah.
Yeah, which is I mean that slot has been was killer. Was Jamie? I mean,
So where does the money come from this? So we all
Sure.
go out there and one drink for you, one for me behind the bar. It's tough for the bar to make
Yep.
money that night with that many media people with free access to booze.
yep. The
But
bar is-
silent auction.
Yep. Well, so the Lodge Bar and Grill is just incredibly generous. They actually give us a little bit of a sponsorship. We've got we're going to walk in the door. We just Jennifer Hammond just nailed another $5,000 sponsor today. So we're going to walk in the door with somewhere between $80,000 and $85,000 already. And
That's incredible.
Yep, and then so all you guys bartend, bust your ass, and work the door like crazy for tips. We got the little bell you can ring, which Mickey insisted on. Mickey Redmond loves to get back there, and we get him some Red Bridge beer for the gluten-free beer. He gets wound up and he gets on that bell. So we take all we take all the tips from the bar. The wait staff there is incredible. The floor staff, they don't have to give us their tips; they do every year.
It's a good-looking crew there, the men and women there. It's a very
Festive.
very,
It's worth it just to come in there to see the costumes because they'll be all dressed in Christmas outfits, whether it's Bumble, whether it's Santa, whether it's elves. It's all over the map. Then we have a 50-50. We do 2 of those at night. We raffle off this thing called Killer's Cooler, where it's like a marine-sized cooler filled with about 50 or 60 bottles of booze.
pretty. If you finish it before the next year's event, you got a problem.
Yeah, you have a serious problem. Well, that's a winner take all on that one. And then we have probably 50 silent auction items that run the gamut. We've got jerseys. I have to promote this. I'm sorry because it's big. I got a JJ McCarthy signed jersey.
It's good.
Yeah, so that's probably one of our big.
How much is
items.
that? How's that McCarthy going for? Not who's the other?
He's the quarterback at Michigan.
McNamara. Is
McNamara. How much is a McNamara jersey going for?
it an Iowa jersey signed by McNamara?
Yeah, is that where he's going to end
That's
up?
the
Probably.
rumor, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well,
He was looking. By the way, he was.
for him, man.
Well, Harbaugh owes him for the guy he got from Iowa's first year.
we're all Jake
Oh,
Rudock.
Jake Rudock, yeah.
Yeah.
My colleague thinks that McNamara should go to Ohio State or Michigan State.
I don't think he'd play.
Your colleague sucks.
You see that?
Yeah, I did. I don't know what I read it because I read the headline. I said, "Now, how's he going to justify this?" And it was a bunch of yang But
well, first of all, I don't think he'd get on the field at Ohio State. I mean,
No, he's not good enough to play at Ohio State.
no, and questionable at Michigan State too. I mean, it's.
I think Thorne, when he has some protection, is a comparable quarterback. You can't take anything away from what this guy did last year.
Yeah, I agree, but I think if
they named him a captain, so people have a lot of respect.
Mark's going to argue with me on this. I would take Thorne over.
Well, of course you would. We all thought that last year. I mean, right? I remember having that. Yeah.
Well, he won.
Yeah.
But Iowa, they haven't had a quarterback for 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy can walk on and be the Harvest King. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
So great stuff there. I would like to donate back the Jamer Candelario autograph picture that I got in the silent auction. I think I have a Matt Boyd autograph ball as well. What do you give me for that?
I got to tell you something. So there's a guy with the Tigers who runs the foundation there, and he's incredible, and he'll send me stuff every year. And some of it is like kind of top shelf, and then it kind of goes down. And I save the old stuff, like just in case, or if other people need it. If I showed you the box that I have of some of the Tiger stuff, the signed balls that don't make it out there. I mean, I'll take money anywhere I can get it. I'll paint something on an elephant's ass and ride it down Main Street if somebody will sponsor it.
I'll give you 50 cents for the orange pop ball.
That really shows you the state of an organization.
Yeah,
what memorabilia you can't move.
I still got a couple old Michigan photos too, and I get them from the same guy because he's very shrewd, but because he does it for the Tiger Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody who comes and throws out a first pitch, whether it's a guy from Michigan football, Michigan State football, wherever the Red Wings, he has him. He like, in fact, one time I ran into him. I was on my way to the Final Four in Atlanta, the Trey Burke year, and I needed a Michigan basketball shirt because I'm not a big basketball fan, but of course I'm going to go to the finals. You know, I'm a bandwagon jumper.
And represent.
Yeah. So I pulled up to one of those Fanatic U's, and I run in there, and this guy's in there, and he's buying like 5 Michigan hats. And I go, "You going to the game?" He goes, "No, Denard Robinson's throwing out the first pitch, so I'm going to get him to sign all the hats." So he's got them to auction off. So he has like I have a Jordan Morgan signed thing. Derek Walton.
Jordan Morgan.
Anybody want a Derek Walton signed picture?
Maybe.
Did you get any Steve Izzo gear?
No, I did not.
Oh, jeez, the human cigar, the human victory cigar.
Oh, that was Matt Ishbia.
Yeah.
Rich.
I thought he was the human cigar.
So the last thing I just want to get in again, remind everybody, it's this Thursday night. It starts at 6. We got 5 or 6 or 7 celebrity bartenders going every hour. We'll go 6 p.m. till close. Silent auction starts at 4. Killer's Cooler, 50-50 raffle. We'll have QR codes where you can donate if you're there. If not, you can donate online now. We would love that at killercares.org. And
I want to mention the four main charities that the money goes to.
I should tell you where the money goes. Yeah, and I'm proud to say this, and now I'm being serious. We literally we don't have anybody on staff. We don't have anybody on payroll, and every dollar that we make outside of a little bit of printing and some administrative fees and filing our taxes goes right to the kids.
That's great.
We have 4 charities. We have Team Joseph. One near and dear to my heart, Marisa Penrod's group fights Duchenne muscular dystrophy, also does a lot for family assistance, helping kids with vans, redoing their houses, getting them to hospitals, when they live in areas where they don't have treatment. Jeff Sacwa's group, Defeat the Label, which is anti-bullying. Jennifer Hammond's favorite group, which is the Downtown Boxing Gym, which is just incredible. And it's the Books Before Boxing program. I encourage anybody who can to go down there, see what they're doing, donate some money to them. And then the last one is the one Killer started with, our Children's Fund, which is West Bloomfield Schools. Yes, there are a lot of kids in West Bloomfield who go without in certain areas, and we help them.
Well, as a kid who grew up in Grosse Pointe, I don't want to say I did without, but let me tell you, when you live in a wealthy community and you're not wealthy, that can't be easy. So we got to make sure those kids get a good start.
And Emma, and in Grosse Pointe, I mean, there's I spent a couple of years there, as you know, and there's areas that people would be stunned are part of Grosse Pointe. I mean, seriously.
Well, I went to driver's ed with the kid. He was from an immigrant family, and he was in driver's. He was a nice kid, but kind of quiet. We were at driver's training, and he was wearing. This was in the early '80s when you would get your T-shirt your name heat pressed on your T-shirt. He had a different kid's name on his T-shirt because I'm sure his parents went to the Salvos. Got a bag of clothes, and so he just had a T-shirt. His name was something like Iqbal, and it says like Fred on the front.
People hear the word Grosse Pointe, they
just
hear
say,
the word West Bloomfield, and they just automatically assume that that they're living on Lakeshore.
Yeah. Now I'm pretty sure that this kid has invented several things since then. But it couldn't have been easy going to driver's ed named Iqbal with Fred on the front of your shirt. So
I'll leave that one alone.
the pit stains may have been his own, but I don't know where the rest of it came. But yeah, so every kid deserves help, and God bless you, Matt, for what you're doing. You've always been generous with your time and your resources and your talents. And this is a charity, folks, where I think you've raised up to close to $1 million.
Oh yeah. I think we're over $1 million. I mean, I one of these days I'll sit there and add it up. I think we've got it somewhere, but yeah, we've done well in the last couple of years. We've really caught fire, and a lot of it, seriously, is you guys. I always say, anybody can stroke a check, but somebody who gives you their time, you can always make more money.
I wasn't sure where you're going with that.
Well, you can.
What does the stroke sponsorship cost?
Yeah.
And who do you get to stroke?
Where are you getting all these checks from?
The San Francisco Jacks sponsored the event.
I heard that Gabar is sponsoring the bathrooms.
Oh
is
my
that
God,
for real?
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Wait, if you go the men's and women's bathrooms, you'll go in there. We did it last year. Wallpapered them with stickers for Zott Ford.
Okay. I thought he was handing out mints or something.
No, Christina Gennari is going to do the vanity baskets in the bathroom. She's sponsoring the valet parking. We got sponsors. I'll sponsor any. One point, I almost thought of sponsoring each one of you.
That'd be fun to see.
And we were just afraid. We were afraid of some clown would get involved, and God knows if Charlie LaDuff's back there, who the sponsor for him is going to be.
Oh God! All of a sudden, what you'd get for that Jamer Candelario signed picture doesn't sound so bad. What you'd get for my sponsorship, but one year I went there, and I always try and drive up the bidding on the silent auctions, and I've gotten burned on that a couple times.
Good.
Welcome to the crowd.
hence Jamer Candelario, Matt. But one year I bid, and I have nieces, and so I bid on it was, and some of the silent auction items, they're really cool, and some of them you're like, what the hell is this doing? You're like,
No, stay focused.
Yeah, there's like a pamper
What were you bidding
package
on?
and stuff. So my wife lets me get out, and I've got 2 little girls, so I would always try and get like the spa package or the lotions or whatever. And I got this massive pink kitty playhouse. I mean, it's huge. It's like the size of a laundry basket. And I got it for my nieces for a Christmas present because you can do some Christmas shopping here too. And there's gift cards and stuff like that. So anyways, the thing is winding down. I'm like, okay, there's still a lot of people here. I was waiting for everybody to leave before I went and got my winnings. And so I'm like, okay, who's got the big pink kitty basket? And I'm like, well, I do. So there's still a few. So I got to walk out carrying this. I was like, at least I'm not getting in a white van.
I think we got a hot cocoa basket for you this year. But our children's
just
fund,
hope Coco's boyfriend doesn't know about this.
Just so you know, we have our children's fund put together like 8 or 10 baskets a year just to give something for
cool.
Well, and here's the thought. Sorry, I'm giving away this is how the sausage is made. You get all these guys who come out with their buddies and get all shit faced. This way they can go and get something from mom.
Christmas shopping.
I got you something.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. Yeah, of course. And,
Brilliant.
And sometimes you get it cheap because all these other slobs like, I want to get the Miguel Cabrera jersey. I'm like,
yeah.
well,
That's my friends. My friends come home drunk.
day spa for
my friends come home
$50.
drunk, and their wife says, "How was it?" "Oh, it's great. Look, I got a JJ McCarthy jersey for myself." Okay.
What'd you get me?
Blowing a .15.
Yeah. or they get the JJ McCarthy jersey for their girlfriend, size extra small. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, creeper, come on, don't be so obvious. But you
Thursday-
can bring a date there. It is a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
This is not a sausage party.
No, not at all.
And it's not for stalkers. Keep your hands off the talent.
Let Mark.
I was just going to say Thursday night, Kego Harbor, the Lodge. What time is your shift, ML? What time are you going to be?
Shoot, hang on.
I think I'm on at 10.
Oh,
yeah, ML, you got a sweet shift.
I just got moved to the 10. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, yeah. No, that was my move. I made
thank
the
you.
move. Yeah, a spot opened up there because I think Earl Curitan or Trevor Thompson moved to 9.
Okay.
So you got Stoney, Craig Monroe, Wojo, ML Elric, Fellhauer, and the 11 o'clock guys try to kind of spill in there. Like, just heads up because you got Woody, Will, Birchfield.
At least we have Wojo. He does a lot of great work.
Well, if anybody sees Wojo pouring a beer, take a picture and send it to me, please. We'll put it. That will replace Killer's face on the website.
He just stands there with that big smile and makes everyone happy, but doesn't pour a drink.
Well, we will see you on Thursday. If you're hearing about this after the event, you can still go to killerscare.com and make a contribution.
.org.
Killerscare.org.
Killercares.org. The S is after the care.
We'll have a link on our website, which is mlsoulofdetroit.com.
Thank you, guys.
And there's always next year.
Thank you.
So
Good
if you
to
miss
see
it
you.
this year, you definitely check out next year. There's always a photo gallery on there, so if you weren't there, you can feel like you were. Matt, thanks for all you're doing. I'll see you
Thursday.
I'll see you soon.
See you Thursday.
Oh, I gotta get a dry.
Man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
So,
lay it on us.
Thanksgiving is a time for fellowship and for helping people and for maybe looking out for, your fellow man. That's not the message that a Mississippi-based furniture company had when they fired 2,700 workers just days before Thanksgiving, many of them finding out while they were sleeping that there was no point in coming back to work the next day. Yes, they were told before midnight on the 21st of November, just days before Thanksgiving, that at the instruction of the board of directors, we regret to inform you that due to unforeseen business circumstances, the company has been forced to make the difficult decision to terminate the employment of all its employees effective immediately. That's United Furniture Industries of Mississippi. So, unforeseen business circumstances. You didn't know you were in trouble. You didn't know that this thing was about to go down the drain. And when you found out, the best you could do is give people an email while they were sleeping. Well, you're not good business people, obviously. You're not good people, obviously. You're chicken shits. And now you're our Geek of the Week. And we're telling you right now, not while you're sleeping. Okay, hit it.
There's an all-night party in room 7609. And you can dance together all night if you've got the time.
Okay, this is for real. Oh no, the game starts at 2. Sorry, okay. I thought we had a live, real, actual update on the Iran-U.S. game, but we do not. We will hopefully be off the air before that game starts so Mark can watch it while haranguing me for show notes.
You like soccer too, so stop.
I do like soccer. In fact, I watched soccer at the Caju Cafe last Friday. It was 0-0, which to people who don't know anything about football will say,
everyone's too focused on the score.
That was possibly the best outcome any reasonable person could have expected for the U.S. squad.
I have a question.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Just ask
we know you have a question because you preface it.
No, but I want to hear.
you have a question?
I want to hear why we stopped the advice business.
Oh, we're still going to do it.
We have
it. Because the Geek of the Week, some people in Mississippi that may or may not have gotten a loan or didn't get a loan or whatever their reason was. No.
They laid off 20. You are trying to find a redeeming quality in people who laid off 2,700 people. And now, Mark's favorite band plays a hit from my favorite band.
Gross.
Belligerent bulls run Manchester schools, spineless swines, cemented minds. Salutes the troops, jealousy youth, same old joke since 1962. It does the military to step down the length of my neck. I wanna go home, I don't wanna stay. Give up life was a bad mistake. Midweek on the playing fields, satisfaction in the knees, knees you in the groin, elbow in the face. Who's it bigger than dinner plate? I wanna go home, I don't wanna stay. 1902. It doesn't matter to step down the length of my neck. I wanna go home, I don't wanna stay. Give up life was a bad mistake. Please excuse me from Jim. I got this terrible cold coming on. It grabs and devours. It kicks me in the showers. Kicks me in the showers and grabs and devours. I want to go home. I don't want to stay. La, 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 la,
is the Headmaster Ritual by Radiohead. Actually, it's by the Smiths, but Radiohead covered the Smiths.
Now, as a Smiths fan, do you like that?
I do like that. And I think I told you a while ago that there was a new, maybe it was a new Pearl Jam that sounded kind of like a new wave tune to me. But I am not one of the people who is obsessed with Radiohead and who feels like they are the greatest rock band ever. There are Radiohead fans who, it's almost like a cult, but they do Creep, right?
Yeah.
No, Special. You're so blanking Special.
Creep,
yeah.
Song. Yeah.
And
which is not really representative of their work.
No, but this is when I kind of had an appreciation for Radiohead. I'd always heard the radio edit of Creep. I was like, oh, it's a pretty nice little ditty, it's a nice pop tune, blah, 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 blah. And then I was at a party, some house party in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Things had gotten late, substances had been consumed, and somebody played the album cut, and I was like, it's a completely different song. It's so sarcastic. It's like Radiohead is awesome.
Yeah, it's a great song.
But,
the problem is they stole a lot of that song from the Hollies. the air you breathe, the air I breathe.
Well, the Hollies are pretty awesome too.
Oh yeah, no, listen to both those songs back to back. But they didn't play that song for the longest time because they hated it.
Oh wow, just the shame.
Well, they can be a little. This is the problem of being a Radiohead fan is that they're not the easiest band to love because they are kind of annoying.
I think it would be nice if we played Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress.
If you can find a new wave cover, we absolutely will. It's covers months here on Soul of Detroit, Sean, as I think
why can't we just play something
you
we
may have heard
enjoy
while
listening
urinating.
To? Why can't we just play something we enjoy?
ML does.
To?
He enjoys listening to
No,
it.
I mean you and me, Mark.
Oh. Well, I make this invitation on a regular basis. I'll make it one more time. You're always welcome to bring in a book a guest into room 7609.
I liked it.
Really?
It just has to have some sort of new wave.
Exactly.
connection.
The parameters are that actually was kind of a fun
Back
song.
to that song. I feel like
you could bring in the Mahavishnu orchestra doing Fascination Street by The Cure if you want. I don't care.
That made me think of the other song, the 80s song, something Fascination. What was that?
Fascination Street by The Cure.
Yeah, the one who was just.
Yeah, the one I just mentioned explicitly.
Does Commander Cody have any new wig?
I will just warn you though, the album track of Fascination Street is like 13 minutes long. And when my buddy Tim Perfett and I were doing some DJing over the summer at WLFT at Michigan State, if he had to go to the bathroom and it wasn't, a tinkle, he would put on Fascination Street because he knew by the time it got to the end of the album cut, he'd have 13 minutes to take care of business.
Oh, nice.
So it's perfect. Yeah, perfect. So that's a pro tip from Tim Perfett. That was during the brief period I was known as DJ Rick Rock. That was
cool name.
Shameful. I almost immediately changed it to Ron.
Yeah, no, it's the Human League. That's the song I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Keep feeling Fascination.
Yeah.
Well, bring on some Human League. We've played not only Human League, but
I actually
we've
like
played,
the Human League. Yeah,
we've played bands that were connected to the Human League.
And we could play some more Church too. And I know we've played the Church, but all right.
I was backstage on Wednesday at the Smiths United show, and they have a framed autographed guitar from the Church.
Over the Church
at the Magic Bag. Awesome. Nice. They also have an autographed guitar framed up there by Dick Dale, the Surfer Music guitar player. Very
nice.
Cool.
So who's going first this week?
Oh, so we are done with Covers Month. We are hoping to get some suggestions from you guys from female new wave bands because we kind of haven't had any really cool rocker chicks on the show in a while. So if you have some suggestions, you can send them to mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. Anything you'd like to hear in Room 7609. Kind of the deal is it's got to be from a band that everybody knows, but it's a song that people don't know that well. Or it's an awesome tune from a band that really just never got the due it was due. And so we will do the due to make sure they get that due that they're due.
That makes sense.
Right?
Sean's in his phone.
Shawn is shaking the due.
No, I'm just looking. I'm just pulling something up.
Gross.
So we, as you know, love to get your feedback. You can write to us at mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. It is Giving Tuesday. Nobody gave to us last week, so we have no benefactors to thank. But I do want to tell you a little bit about something you'll hear at the beginning and the end of the show now. If you listen to the audio download, you will hear a commercial before the show and after the show because we now have ads that are put on there by our podcasting host. It's a very small revenue stream, but it will help support the show. I mention all of this not just to let you know as our partners that there's been a change to the format of the show, but if you hear some ads where you say, ooh, I don't really like that product, actually it's your fault because the way these ads are selected is the host company working with some evil empire at Google or somewhere knows what you like, knows what you listen to, and will try and feed you content that they think you will like in the form of commercials, which is why when I listen to Pod of Thunder, a heavy metal podcast out of Chicago, I constantly hear ads from Michigan State University and Detroit Edison. I don't really like Detroit Edison, but they know I live in Detroit. So if you're hearing some ads, you should know that those ads were selected because some zombie somewhere thinks that you would dig them. So if you hear something that freaks you out, don't blame us. Stop your browsing habits.
I just wanted to say that whenever Mark says Sean's on the phone, it's projecting because he's on his laptop. For example, looking at HBO Max or whatever.
Well, there's a reason I'm looking at HBO Max.
But sometimes you're just browsing, which is
I'm
fine.
not, though. I'm not.
You may not be this moment, but
ML
sometimes
knows what I'm doing.
are.
ML knows what I'm queuing. I'm queuing something up.
Shawn may have been hoisted on his own petard.
No. He's often looking up unrelated stuff on the show over there.
No. This is.
And I'm making maybe.
not true.
I'm not saying this time.
Projecting because once again
you're projecting.
You got in trouble and you're trying to get me in trouble, just like earlier.
You're projecting because I was looking up something I'm going to read here in a second.
Boy, these guys.
Well, but I'm queuing up something.
They always want the show to end sooner, but we get caught in these morasses. Shawn, Mark will be playing something very on point, which we talked about in the pre-show checklist, but I think you were slumming with Carlos, who wants Cade McNamara to play football for Georgia.
God, he's been doing so well the last couple of weeks, and then he felt left out because he hadn't written about college football.
Why can't you let him be him?
Why, for revenge?
If he's going to be the bitter beer face guy, just let him.
No, but he's been being himself, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, I'm off to the sideline here. I need to make a little noise, so I'm going to write a ridiculous column."
I think it's actually a funny concept. I don't know that he would be a first stringer at either of those universities.
No, it was fine. Most of it. It's just the headline and the fact that he thought McNamara got unfairly treated in the competition is. He and I have argued before on our podcast about that.
All right, I'm going to bite. Why did he think he was unfairly treated?
I don't even know. He's got some idea that he said it's like getting fired and then having to reapply for your job.
Well, let me now. Carlos and I have not discussed this, but I imagine what he's thinking, and I think I got this from his column. God, we were going to do feedback, and now we're advertising the other show. Is that this whole tryout was a put on, that they always the ending was already foretold.
It was,
and it was a way to either avoid making a hard decision or to let McNamara be a second stringer with grace. I don't understand that, but
it was.
Everybody knew it was gonna be
I think there was
to a certain degree.
I think there was some openness. If McNamara had balled
if he had
out,
dominant, exactly.
and McCarthy had struggled, then but it would have been McNamara's job. It's
Well, McCarthy did
Coaches
struggle
wanna win.
until he got to Columbus. I mean, oh my God, how many questions about J.J. McCarthy did we get answered? Oh, he can't
Very
throw
little.
the long ball. He can't. Holy crap!
That was just
Thank
you.
God Blake Corum was out because
Those
the
are
guy
your
actually got to
questions.
sling it. He's
No.
a friggin' machine. I hate the
Sean
guy.
and I knew.
Yeah, we did. How fun is? And I regret a little bit. I picked Ohio State because I thought they were going to be missing not just Corum but Edwards. and Schoonmaker and Morris. And I thought the fact
did two of those three for the most
they
part.
did, but Edwards, right? I thought without Edwards, they just weren't going to be able to score enough, and they would not have without Edwards, right? I mean, he as the game.
I don't know.
went
I feel
on,
like I could have run through some of those holes
late.
Yeah.
late.
Oh, late. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the third quarter, his running in the third quarter is what was underrated, where he's getting like 5 to 6 yards a pop.
Yeah, no. Because I thought that Michigan for the last 6 weeks, I thought they were going to win this game. It just the way that the matchups and all that. But then the injuries made me kind of pause.
When they barely escaped Illinois, that would have made me wonder.
Well, yeah, because they didn't have those four guys.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying why they barely escaped, but I'm saying this is not a team that was getting ready to play its biggest game of the road
for sure.
with a huge pile of momentum behind it.
No, for sure. By the way, how fun is it? How fun is it to be a Spartan right now? You know, you're 5-7. Your rival is about to go to the college football playoff and has a legitimate chance to win a title. You just got fined $100,000.
That's outrageous. We don't need to get into
And
that.
then your basketball coach, who's a really, really good coach, sort of unnecessarily steps in it yesterday a little bit when he was asked about it.
Absolutely not. He said what needed to be said.
What did he say?
He said the Big Ten's full of shit.
Yeah, basically.
Which is true.
And that
how are they full of shit?
And he was bringing up the false equivalency of Devin Bush and this kind of incident. And yeah, it's just.
Well, I will say this.
It's not a false equivalency. Michigan State was fined, and then the Big Ten later acknowledged that the way they fined them wasn't by their own protocols. Because
he talked about other incidences too, right? He mentioned the Ohio State and Penn State.
That's just general whataboutism.
It is.
No, it's not whataboutism.
Yeah, it is.
This
100%.
university was warned, if you don't mind your business, something's going to happen. They didn't mind their business and something happened. Now, what happened shouldn't have happened, but Michigan's role in this should not be overlooked. And this show's going to go for hours.
And by the way, they were
because of you jokers, because we didn't even talk about this.
So Izzo was frustrated with the reprimand, but the reprimand had more to do with the fan leaning down.
According to Ward Emanuel, the Big Ten hasn't said what the reprimand
No, but if you read what the Big Ten says.
This is what's driving me nuts. I don't give a fuck what the Big Ten has to say, to tell you the truth. I really don't. I just feel like they have to needle in things because they're, the overseer of these competitions.
Feather them in, so to speak.
They just had to get involved because there was an assault, right? They had to do something.
This is classic
It's
Wolverines.
more,
Wolverines care what anybody says unless they're other Wolverines.
All I know is that the week before.
It's not true.
The week before.
But all the focus is being on the Big Ten.
This is what my youngest son said to me the week before.
And not the Washtenaw County prosecutor who's pressing charges.
My youngest son.
That's another travesty, but.
My youngest son who goes to state said the week before on Saturday.
This is a guy who doesn't want to charge anybody with crimes.
In the afternoon, and just listen for a second. The week before, Mark, Michigan's losing to Illinois. Michigan State's beating Indiana. If Michigan State wins, they go to a bowl game. If Michigan loses, they're going to be out of the playoff to Illinois, right? So there was a window in there for about 45 minutes where it felt awfully good to be a Spartan. And my son, who goes to state, was talking about, and then to have that all change, an hour later, was not fun.
So, no commentary on your son here, but it hasn't felt great to be a Michigan State football fan all season.
No, but there was a little tiny bit of light, like, our hated rival is going to go down at home to Illinois, and we're going to somehow secure a bowl bid out of all this mess of a season.
That would have been a nice afternoon, but as I told the people sitting next to me, don't worry about that school down the road. And we crossed. No, we didn't cross all the M's off. We got them in our name too. I got to replay that.
You saw Ohio State's Twitter account tweeted out the score.
No,
and they crossed the M out on the.
My whole thing was save all your karma for this game. We win. That's all I care about. But this team has been decimated for reasons that affect all teams, and for some reasons that they did to themselves, and some reasons that are complete horseshit. But this has been a tough season for the Spartan football team and Spartan football fans, and not just because it was cold as hell.
They made a 51-yard field goal, though. That was pretty cool.
And now that guy's transferring because the team screwed up, and they should have made him the kicker from the beginning of the game. Beginning of the season.
He's in the portal.
He's in the portal. Now, he may come back.
Real quickly, and I don't want to turn this show into this, but real quick, and we can talk about this down the road. The bigger, I think,
you guys might want to pick him up to replace the guy who saved your season.
The bigger issue for Spartan fans is Tucker, the guy, right? A year ago, you're thinking, oh my goodness, we got this great coach.
No, that's all wishful thinking. It's the same as the Spartans are hoping Harbaugh's going to get fired. It's the people outside of town bitching about this guy handled this whole incident in the tunnel Right. Now, the press conference Mark talked about, I didn't see.
That doesn't have anything to do with whether he can actually coach or not. That's
but he can coach. The fact that he got them up for Illinois shows that he can coach.
No, he's good in that way, but is he good?
That they hung tough against Penn State with nobody says that he can coach. Now, his coordinators.
Well, that's part of it.
And when he gets his talent,
how long does he want to stay there? Is his family happy up there? All these sort of things. I mean, there's lots of stuff at play here.
I think Mel Tucker will be just fine. I really do. I really believe that.
I think he's going to be fine too. But 11-2, 11-1, like last year, that's.
It was kind of a fallacy. I mean, there were a lot of one-score games.
I mean, if he wins
everything broke our way that year, including the
Sure.
Peach Bowl.
He
where
needs
they
to win
ended up
8 or
playing
9
with their
games,
third
right?
string quarterback.
Michigan State wants to be Wisconsin, so that means winning 8 to 10 games
Michigan
most
State
years.
wants to be Wisconsin. Is that what they taught you in Ypsilanti?
Wants to be.
No, Michigan State wants to be in the CFP and the national championship every year, just like every other college football program. Now,
I'm just telling you.
The difference is we're paying CFP prices for our coach, and so finishing
because of one guy.
third in the
Two
Big
guys,
Ten
actually.
East multiple years in a row. We're going to get to that in a minute. But having the kind of if Mel Tucker comes out over the next 5 years and puts up the same record that Jim Harbaugh put up over his first 5 years, he will not survive.
Of course he will. You don't know what Harbaugh did his first 5 years, do
Yes,
you?
I do. He finished third in the Big Ten each of those years.
He won 10 games 3 times.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
When you're not beating Michigan and Ohio State, that's not going to be enough. Not when you're paying $9.5 million.
Those people don't expect to beat Michigan State. They don't.
Who? They don't expect to beat Michigan State.
I mean, Ohio State. Michigan's a little bit of a different story, but no. With the Wisconsin's a great. I've heard those people say this. They would love to be what Wisconsin was, especially under Belima, right? Who's going to do the same thing in Illinois? You watch the West's about to get a lot tougher. We don't want to make this a sports show, and then Fickle going back to Wisconsin. Luke Fickle to going to Wisconsin. The West's going to get a lot tougher. Look at Illinois. Belima's just getting started. State would love to be that.
Matt Rule.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for speaking on behalf of Spartan fans.
I'm not talking about fans. I'm talking about talking and being around the people that run that shit up there for the last 15 years. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, if that's the way they
not
feel,
guys getting caught on camera at a stadium out in Seattle.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't in the press box. I had to pay for my food. So here's the thing. If those people who are running the athletic department want to be Wisconsin, they should all resign immediately. They should be
not
gone.
Wisconsin this second. I'm saying what Wisconsin was.
I know, under Barry Alvarez and all that other stuff.
And then Belima,
right.
yeah, they were really good. And they're getting to Rose Bowls and all that kind of thing. That's a great place for State to be. They don't have the resources to be Georgia, which is what you're talking about.
That would be a great place for State to be if the coach wasn't being paid $9.5 million a year. When you pay a coach that kind of money, you either have to adjust your expectations or you have to reduce his salary, because you don't pay a guy $9.5 million a year to finish second in the Big Ten East.
I also think that what skewed this a little bit, and I was talking about this with a few folks in Columbus over the weekend, what Mark D'Antonio did.
Thank you for not making this a sports podcast.
What Mark D'Antonio did before it dipped at the end is one of the great stories of sports in this state in the last 30 years. What he did was sort of incredible, and it's kind of gotten lost a little bit now because of how it ended.
But this is, but, and I can't believe we're going elsewhere. But what D'Antonio did is what Harbaugh's starting to do now. And I think one of you guys wrote about this, is he's realized I don't need the 5-star recruits. I need my guys to play my football.
Well, no, but he does. His quarterback and his 2 best offensive players outside of Corum are 5-star recruits.
I understand
you
that, but
have
now,
some of those
now
guys.
he's signing 3-star recruits.
He always had.
Yeah,
right, but what I'm saying is he brought in a lot of 5-stars who left, who didn't make it. And he seems to have found a way to mix his guys with these top shelf guys to put together
the key, the
a
balance.
team. He's
Yeah.
done alchemy. That's what he's done. That's what D'Antonio did. He's coaching guys up and he's getting them to perform. When you're at Alabama, you can cut a bunch of 5-stars because the guys behind them are 5-stars.
Oh, for sure.
And you can do that to some extent at Ohio State.
Once they're in the building, there's 0 stars, right? I mean, they all compete.
Right. They coddle these guys, they kiss their ass, they tweet the hell out of them, then they sign, they get to campus, and all of a sudden they're, hey, dog shit, you're not worth it. Get up to...
Ironically, Harbaugh's change in the last 2 years is that he relinquished some control and let people do their jobs that he hired them to do.
But that's what good managers do.
No, I
think
know.
What we're seeing the nightmare of Michigan State fans, which is the maturation of Jim Harbaugh.
I think you have a little bit of revisionist history.
Yeah,
as to
he
how
coached
bad.
this way at Stanford. He coached this way at San Francisco. His teams played very similar to how they're playing now. I feel like he got away from what he's doing right now in those middle years at Michigan. You know, he started off that first year at Michigan. His team was immediately tougher. You could see the root. You were talking about Jake Rudock earlier. That particular team was a good physical Harbaugh-like team, and then the next year they were
5-7 to 10-3.
Yeah, and then the next year they were really good. And then he started chasing, to your point about the stars and the galaxy. Then he went off in a different direction. I think now he's back to his roots.
And that's what happened to D'Antonio. When D'Antonio went after those 5 stars in 2017,
was the end of his program.
They destroyed that university. It's his fault. He should have been smarter than that. But not a Sparks podcast.
Was it? Can I ask? I mean, serious question. Not trying to be snarky here. Was the program in that big a disarray when D'Antonio left? What were they, 7-6?
They just didn't have much talent.
They had John L. Smith had flamed out. Bobby Williams was a disaster after Saban.
You're talking about when D'Antonio took over or left?
When he left.
They didn't have there wasn't much talent. His last couple of recruiting classes were tough.
A lot of his guys are starters now. A lot of the guys on the field, and the Free Press has written about this, are D'Antonio guys. But he wasn't bringing in the next. I mean, what he was doing is Peyton Thorne and Jaden Reed, he pried them away from Western Michigan. You know, when your starters are guys that committed to a lesser program that you somehow wheedled away from them, you know.
But the
D'Antonio
truth is,
D'Antonio had run out of gas.
So to me, it wasn't that far removed from really good seasons, whereas Harbaugh was coming in after 7 just jokes. Well, there was one.
You're talking about to D'Antonio's own standard, and the problem is the way he built
Brady
that program.
Hoke was coach of the year. He had a team that almost beat Ohio State.
Yeah, that was after he took over for Rich Rod.
The problem is D'Antonio
beat Ohio
the
State.
way D'Antonio built the program wasn't sustaining. He kept finding 2- and 3-star guys that ended up in the league. And that's not sustainable year in and year out. It's just the math just doesn't work for that.
My question is,
which is why it was incredible he did it as long as he did.
I know the state of disarray that Michigan's program was in when they got Harbaugh, right? And that turned the corner pretty quick just because of the energy and the wins that it brought in. I'm just looking for the comparison.
That team that beat Ohio State and what was that, 16 down in Columbus, that Michigan State team?
Michigan State, yeah.
Well, with Cook being hurt.
Great.
That defensive line and offensive line, there were like 8 or 9 NFL players on it.
Yeah.
And there's just nowhere near the level of talent there right now, right? There's just not.
I was just wondering.
Yeah, when they're not all suspended, they're not.
Yeah, no. What's that, Mark?
Nothing. We've talked about it enough.
No, but Harbaugh, this is every Michigan. This is every Michigan State fan's Harbaugh nightmare. Harbaugh
why are
is
you so
finally
worried about him?
who we thought he was. What, you always worry about the competition.
I don't care what you guys are doing up there.
Right. Okay. So let's get back to
you do when they're beating your butt.
No, I'm really focused on us and what we do wrong.
You are right now. It's easy for you to say. It wasn't back in September, but go ahead.
No, we've
revisionist.
Always been very myopic.
Yeah, revisionist.
Good fans.
Okay.
Taylor writes, "You are both extremely talented writers, so I was taken aback to learn of ML's blind spot on a recent episode." Mark, when did you start writing?
Who's your both?
What? Oh, sorry. On our flight to Florida, I caught your tunnel attack dialogue. I think it was
oh, God, poor you.
It's one thing to love your alma mater. It's another to laugh off and rationalize violent assaults. ML's a hockey guy. I'm a hockey mom. So I'm assuming he knows the tragic story of MSU hockey player A.J. Sturgis, who was nearly killed by an MSU football player in a brief, unprovoked attack. It's not just ML, it's a fan base which thinks there's a blue wall, news media conspiracy seeking the humiliation of MSU, aided by government officials like Dana Nessel. It's Coach Mel Tucker's tough guy, hip-hop adjacent persona with his permanent scowl, profanity use, photo shoots with dangerous dogs, Ferraris, and big cigars. And late yesterday, Coach Tom Izzo dumped more chum in the water for a raging fan base. For at least 20 years, State has an unhealthy systemic culture issue beyond the bounds of a normal college rivalry, fostered by highly paid campus leaders and apparently even talented alumni at the top of their profession, like ML. Well, where do I start? First of all, not laughing off what happened in the tunnel, but saying that this needs to be, and I still want to see those police reports because I don't think that we know the full story yet. I've never, ever condoned or apologized.
But that's not the impression you gave. You know how many people, I haven't talked to you about this real quickly.
Oh boy, I'm glad we're getting caught up on that now.
No, but I've had 7, 8, 9 people in the last couple of weeks come up to me about that episode when we talked about that and said, I don't understand it.
Did they like and rate the show?
No, but they're like, Mike is a smart guy. I don't get it. Help me understand this Michigan State thing, because he would not be like that in any other part of his life. And that's what's confusing to people, right? Is that what this college identity business does. And they're like, God, even Mike is sounding like an apologist. Even though I don't think you are, but that conversation we had gave people the impression, even though I don't think that's what you were trying to do.
I'll tell you what, you run your mouth, you run a risk. That's the deal.
It's like this person writing you right now, though, right?
But to compare this A.J. Sturgis, I'm not familiar with this story, I apologize, being assaulted by a football player, that is not at all the same as what happened in that tunnel. And you got 100 guys on 2 guys. If they really wanted to hurt those guys would be hurt, okay?
They were hurt.
Get a broken nose and a concussion, you know.
Oh, that's amazing. We're just going to
You ever been in a fight? One punch will break your nose. I played basketball where guys got their nose broke from a stray elbow.
They were also covered in pads, so.
Not their heads.
No, you're right.
So
that's why he was hitting them with a helmet. Everyone can see that on a camera.
But
well, you're cool with that, so now we know where you're standing.
No, I'm not cool. I'm not cool with the helmet thing. But to say that Michigan has no responsibility for this is insane. It's absolutely insane. And the arrogance that Michigan is known for. Sandra Still, who
that's what I explained. That's how I explained it right there. What you just said, that's what I told people. Mike's sick and tired of that. And there are a lot of Spartans that feel that way, and it's baked in. Right?
No. I mean, there's a lot of people who feel this way. There's a lot of people who have Michigan fans that they deal with on a regular basis who cheer for other schools who are sick of it too. Sandra Still, who turned that game around with that incredible play in the end zone, cheers for Sandra Still. He plants the flag at the 50 in Columbus. Son, act like you've been here before. That's the arrogance that people are talking about. Driving a spike in the field, kicking the turf, coming to East Lansing and pouring paint on Sparty, that kind of shit. That's the obnoxious arrogance of Michigan fans. And that's fine. If we have a rivalry and it's going to be like that, let's be like that. But when it's throwing a rock and hiding your hand and saying, oh, we got to get to the bottom of this, we got to get to the bottom of that. Let me tell you something.
It's never been physical violence. All that other stuff is just rivalry. I mean, before the Ohio State-Michigan game this weekend, I don't know if you saw the Ohio State players jumping around right a while during the warm-ups. They're all giving the bird. So what?
That's fine.
So what? And I've seen plenty of jawing in that tunnel, and no one ever threw a punch or a helmet.
Penn State had a problem. Ohio State. You guys keep pretending this has
never
nobody
happened
threw
a punch.
To Mark's point,
There's a fine line.
That's not a fine line. That's a pretty stark line.
Yeah.
They were
Between
warned.
you running your mouth and taking a swing.
They were warned that something could happen, and something did happen. You don't smoke when you're putting gas in your car because it ain't smart.
Okay,
that's all I'm
fine.
saying.
That's like
but
saying
here
that-
these guys are saying
That's
gas.
like saying, oh, the tunnel was wearing a skirt and she deserved it. That's exactly what we're saying.
No,
It's
it's
bullshit.
not like that at all. That's a garbage comparison.
So
That's
if I
a
smoke,
garbage comparison.
around while I'm filling up the tank, I deserve to be blown up.
If you smoke while you're yes, but then you don't deserve to say, oh, well, gas shouldn't burn. We all know gas burns. We all know tempers are high. And one of the reasons why the tempers are so high in this rivalry is because the Michigan guys act like assholes.
Only Michigan, okay.
No. I'm not excusing what those guys did. Those players shouldn't have done anything. And
No. I mean, before that, it was only Michigan. It was only one-sided.
No, both sides. But I'm saying Michigan does this shit all the time. The difference is
one side took it to an illegal level.
I am accepting that Michigan State shouldn't do some shit that it does. Michigan's like, oh no, we never do anything.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. He said mean things.
We're
Yeah,
moving
like
on.
that would ever happen in a court. Okay.
So let me just tell you a little something about Ann Sullivan. Great teacher, but she couldn't make Helen Keller see.
Who's next?
Me again.
What?
Jacob. This is me getting kicked in the balls. You're going to love this. Jacob.
No, I'm a
I know you're a
protective of
mega
you.
MSU boot. Well, boy, maybe you should protect me in a tunnel. I'll get a broken nose myself. I know you're a mega MSU booster, but I have a hunch that watchdog and working class guy, and he was rightfully pissed off MSU lied and pushed disinformation about who was on the hook for Coach Tucker's absurd $100 million contract. It wasn't 2 billionaires boosting all of it, not even close. State is on the hook for like $80 million, and I bet Allen helping Mel hijack that $100,000 bonus intended for staffers makes you look at both differently. And Mark is here with some research he did during the show on his laptop to support what Jacob just said.
I wanted to play the clip. This is HBO's Real Sports. Did a little feature on Matt Ishbia, and this is what he
Other
was saying.
billionaire booster played a very large role in a very large contract for the football coach. Are you comfortable saying how large the gift was?
I gave another $14 million to Michigan State, is what I gave. And the reality is, 10-year, $95 million contract sounds like a lot right now. In 8 years, that'll be the middle of the road.
The deal was so big that the Detroit Free Press took Michigan State to court to see the terms of Ishbia's gift, trying to find out if he's buying influence.
Are there any provisions with that money, the $14 million? Are there any strings attached?
No, not that I'm aware of, no.
Not that I'm aware of. Huh?
So I don't know that we filed a FOIA lawsuit because we think that influence was being sold, but we filed the Free Press filed a Freedom of Information lawsuit because these are public records that should be released. And I've written, mega MSU booster that I am, apologist that I am. I wrote a column. Check our show notes. You'll see a link to it. Or search for Elric and Engler. And you'll see a column where I excoriated Michigan State for having a culture of secrecy dating back 20 or 30 years or more. That contract should be released. And my first thought when I heard about this, because believe me, people told me about this. Last time I got this many texts, I think I had my arms crossed in Seattle. But if this guy put in $14 million of a $95 million deal and he's supposed to put the lion's share of it in, he should have put at least 40. Okay, here's where my Spartan math comes in. $48 million. So what the hell is going on here?
But we were led to believe that it was mainly being paid by billionaires.
Which is why I'm saying if you put in at least half, it should be at least $48 million. Check my math. Yeah. But Michigan guy with an econ degree. But this is a problem. This is why we need to have this contract. And I don't apologize for Michigan State. When we do something wrong, we do something wrong. But the punishment should fit the crime. That's the last topic. But we need to see this contract because Ishbia has now put something in the public domain that suggests that these two guys who said, don't worry about the price, we're going to pay it. And I have always worried about the price consistently. I've said the only thing that makes it palatable to me is that it's not coming out of taxpayers or students' pockets.
Well, it's still not.
Let me ask you this question. How is this Michigan's fault?
This has nothing to do with Michigan.
What? I thought it always did.
Well, when they gave Jim Harbaugh that $7 million contract he didn't earn, it raised the price for coaches throughout Michigan. It is Harbaugh's fault. Sorry, I'm glad you reminded me.
I'm just being a dick.
And what about Ward Emanuel's wife's car?
I agree. Hey, Ward has made
Did she back over Devin Bush?
Ward has made 3 big mistakes. I'm not happy with him.
So who's next?
I don't want to do what that was called sarcasm and irony, Sean. Just like when we pointed out that that Shawn was wrong about Mark, walking off on the company. He was doing research.
No, he was looking at fucking White Lotus. Was that clip from White Lotus?
Boy, you are really flailing now because I just opened the app and that's what they had up there.
I'm kidding.
I know. You're trying to throw me on the bus 3 times today.
Not. You started it by saying, "Oh, Sean's on his phone." You started it. You started this. All right. Who am I going?
One more from me.
We already covered my
Oh my
letter.
God.
One more from me. This is a follow-up from Frank, whose feedback Shawn read last week. He says, "Great show today, fellas."
Thank you, Frank.
Not a comment, just clarification. Matt's dad, meaning Matt Ishbia, is a wildly successful multinational attorney and businessman, and Jeff founded that mortgage company in 1986 when Matt was in first grade.
Shore Mortgage.
Jeff is the brains. Matt is a front.
Okay. Even if they took over Shore Mortgage, they blew it up into something massive. I mean, he's doing something right there. I'm not going to knock him for his business acumen.
I always love it when the capitalist comes out and we're in agreement.
It's true. He hasn't done anything illegal in that regard. He
No,
deserves
not at all.
every penny he did. Is it a little obscene that someone can make that money? Maybe you can have that argument, but he built United Wholesale Mortgage into a behemoth.
So Frank also adds, and I know Sean's getting impatient, but this supports something Shawn was saying a little while
No, I'm not
ago.
impatient at all. I like hearing your voice. It's very soothing.
We're 10 minutes from kickoff.
Mark misremembers Jim's start at U of M.
I misremember it?
No. Mike.
Oh,
meaning
Mike.
me.
Okay, I was gonna say.
And Mike misremembers Jim's start at U of M. Nothing close to a 5-season dud like Mel. 2015, 10-3. 2016, 10-3. 2017, 8-5. 2018, 10-3. This is Jim Harbaugh's record in his first 5 years at Michigan. A fine record by almost any yardstick. First of all, Mel hasn't coached for 5 seasons, so I don't know how you call it a dud. In his first season, he beats the arch rival on the road with a team that wasn't his during the COVID year. In his second year, he beats his arch rival at home in an amazing comeback, goes 11-2 with a team that's not his. This year, sucked. No debate. But for people, listen, you want to get Mel out of there? Find him guilty of something. And the $100,000 bonus thing, That's the worst thing I've heard about Mel Tucker so far, and I want to know a hell of a lot more about why that money wasn't shared on. Not with the assistant coaches, because they make plenty of money, but the guys who hold the headsets and who bring the water bottles out and who look at all the video and who pack the bags with stinky gear, those guys should have got a piece of that $100,000. And Michigan State's failure to explain that, to me, is outrageous.
How do we know that Mel's not going to disperse it then? I mean, the story is that the athletic department wrote it based on how the contract is to go to him. I mean, they could have written it to everybody, but how do we know it's not going to Mel or some LLC that he owns and he'll disperse it?
But it was to him to share. And Michigan State, let me put it this way. Michigan State did not dispute the Free Press report that the money, or was it USA Today? I guess it was USA Today in the free. We're part of the USA Today network, folks. That's what you get for your $1 for a 6-month subscription. But no, $1 a month, whatever it is for 6 months. Subscribe, because we're all getting laid off. So would you friggin' subscribe already? But here's the deal, and we are facing layoffs, which may include me. So if you don't mind subscribing, that would be pretty cool. But the report was that he kept the $100,000. If it should be me, it will be me.
It won't be you.
No exemptions. But here's the deal. Nobody takes a bullet that should be hitting me. Here's the deal with this contract. If Michigan State has an alternate explanation of what's been reported, they have to give it. And one of the reasons why people are so mad at Mel Tucker, I think some of it's because he looks a little different than some of the other coaches around here. I can't dismiss that.
Oh, you see that in the language and a lot of the comments in our paper.
His big cigar and his language.
Oh, there's a lot of coded
shit. There's lots of coaches who curse and have big dogs and drive fancy cars. Not Izzo, by the way. I think he drives like a top-end Toyota. But anyway, here's the thing. People are mad at Tucker because they think that something's being pulled over on them. They think they're being lied to. And when people think they're being lied to, they get mad, as they should be. As Korey Bailey was here today, mad that the school district that he volunteered to serve, he felt was being truthful. Mel Tucker and Michigan State have brought a whirlwind of negativity and doubt and suspicion upon themselves because they refuse to release a contract that is a public record and should have been released upon demand. And so while I don't like people piling on Tucker, if he's a bad guy, I'll be the first guy to call for him to be gone. But right now, people are working on innuendo and suspicion, and it's because we ourselves as Spartans have allowed that to happen. So shame on Michigan State for being assholes when it comes to public records, which they have been for years, and that's unacceptable.
All right.
Nice job.
I still may slap you. But it'll be your fault.
Yeah, somehow.
Courts will.
Or it'll be Michigan's fault.
It always is. You can slap me. Did he say slap? and then I'll punch you, and we'll be fine.
Finally a genuine expression of emotion. Boys, I think you have some feedback.
Oh, really?
All
we
right.
already covered mine.
Yeah, because we got to get
all about Mel.
It is, because we got to get to the soccer. So here's the feedback. Your shot today at Central Michigan Boosters was totally uncalled for. This is why I and many other readers consider you a douchebag writer.
Who, you or ML?
That's from Dave, class of 1965, Central Michigan.
I assume you printed that yourself, because I believe the feedback that was shared with you was of completely different.
So I just thought if you guys
that was to you?
That was to me. So
what
I just
did you say about Central?
It was an aside about a column about Ryan Day and how he's on the hot seat and how Ohio State is different, how that would not happen at Ann Arbor at all. I was comparing Harbaugh sort of surviving and Day. They want you. I guarantee you, he will. If he loses to Michigan next year, that'll be the end of him.
Yeah, John Cooper City.
They're not going back to that. No, for sure. Yeah. And I mentioned that Michigan was closer to Central in terms of expectations than it was Ohio State, where they have this unreasonable idea that you have to win every single game and always beat Michigan. And after I filed that column and I started my drive back to Columbus this late Sunday afternoon, I stopped to get a quick bite to eat. And the guy at the bar where I was sitting to eat was shaking his head about the game they was talking about. And I said, so what's this fire? Why is Fire Ryan Day trending on Twitter last night and today? What is it with you guys down here? And he said, if you can't beat the school up north, you can't coach here. It's really that simple. And Day is now 1-2 against
Earl
Jim Harbaugh.
Bruce said it.
Yeah, John Cooper.
Ryan Day is 1-2 against Michigan, and he is otherwise 45-5, and has gotten to the college football playoff twice, the title game once, won 2 Big Ten titles, and he is legitimately on the hot seat. And that is crazy, and that's a completely different level than Michigan or Michigan State.
Some people would say that he thought he hit a triple, but he was born on third base.
And I mean, as Harbaugh said of him, yeah. So I mentioned it saying, Central has no reason to have those expectations. It wasn't a shot at Central. It was like, that's a healthy thing, whatever. So it was misread a little bit, but yeah, I'm a douchebag writer, as many others think.
Right. I don't know. We need to throw writer in there, but back in the 80s, Central Michigan, they were the bullies of the MAC. I mean, they were really good, premier mid-level program. They were outstanding, and they have had their heights again. By the way, can we say something about Eastern Michigan University?
No, I know.
Yeah, hell
that's my alma mater. Yeah.
We don't talk about the directional universities enough, but Eastern Michigan, the Eagles, fantastic.
No, they're kicking some butt. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're not playing them next year. We are playing Central though, so maybe Dave.
No,
will be
they've taken turns. Western a few years ago had. They were decent this year. They just fired their coach though.
Yeah, Lester.
The problem is PJ Fleck gave them an inflated idea of. They went to a Cotton Bowl for Christ's sake.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I think high expectations are good in sports.
No, expectations are good, but that stuff down in Columbus is just a different level. Anyway, I thought since we spent so much time talking about State and Tucker, we should switch it up a little bit. And you don't need to read yours.
What is your email? I can't remember what it was, but I thought it was off this topic.
Tucker. It's about 100. It's about 100.
Oh, did we get a tip on it or something?
Yeah,
we didn't get a tip.
No, we didn't. It's about 100 grand. And did we
it wasn't even a Free Press employee who broke that story.
No. So thank you for that, Kelly. And
yeah, sorry, Kevin. We did appreciate your feedback. We want to acknowledge it because we love to hear from all of you. If you have not, we hear from a pretty steady stable of people, and sometimes it comes in crayon, like when Isabella writes something. But I don't know how she gets a crayon in the email.
But I do know that our friend here who makes this show possible is just itching to get into that soccer.
I have another job to do today too.
He's trying to get to that soccer.
So 0-0.
You just turned it on.
We appreciate your feedback, positive, negative. Send it to us, mlsolvedetroit@gmail.com. We will try and get all of it on the air that we possibly can. And you can always leave us a voicemail at 313-288-9070. That's Butterfield 89070. I hope to see you on Thursday. Mark and I will be behind the bar at 10 o'clock. But come early because it's a great night. Get in on some of those 50-50s. Get on the Killer's Cooler. Get in on some of those silent auction items. If you want to see that Matt Boyd ball, see me after the event because I will be taking any reasonable offer, which is pretty much... I'll take a one-figure offer.
Anything, yeah.
Yeah, we'll take a... In fact, the case that it's in may be worth more than the damn ball. They should have traded that guy. But anyways, I would tell you a little bit more about the Carlos and Shawn podcast, but we kind of got into a little bit of Carlos, so see some more there. Congratulations to the University of Michigan Wolverines for beating Ohio State soundly in Columbus. I can't wait for them to get their ass kicked in East Lansing next year, or 2 years from now, or 5 years, whenever it happens. I can't wait for them to get their ass kicked in East Lansing.
We're back into the early 2000s.
I can't wait for them to get their ass kicked in Ann Arbor by the Spartans. I think it may be a long time, but I can't wait for that to happen. So thanks for listening, and we will be back next week with another episode of ML Soul of Detroit. Until then, Cyrus, take Shawn out.
Can you dig that?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
What are you going to do now? You're going to finesse me, lawyer me some more? Try Mr. Elric.
If we aired this segment,
I was told, don't talk. Mind my own business.
we could be a grave risk.
We're doing this with or without you.
Shawn.